Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Gavinsky's Tutorials. Today I'm diving into the incredible January 2025 update for StepPolyArp. So this is the first major update this app has had in years, and it's a seriously powerful one. And it's a free update, right? Totally free. So StepPolyArp is, in my opinion, one of the best, maybe even the best, some people might argue, MIDI sequencers and arpeggiators available on iOS. It is worth every penny of the $20 price tag. It is so powerful and well designed. It's just so much more powerful and advanced than most of the other options. And it works beautifully on a touchscreen as well. Gorgeous app. So a few years back I made a detailed walkthrough on this, and that video is still one of the best I've ever made on this channel. I'll link to it in the pinned comment of this video. But this video itself will focus exclusively on the new features. And even if you're not familiar with the app, watching this video you'll still get a great, general idea of what the app can do. And then if you want to really learn all the ins and outs, you can go watch the main video. So I'm going to cover these updates in 4 key areas. 1. Probabilities and randomization. 2. Polyrhythms. 3. Scales and transpositions. And 4. Pattern editing and customization. I'll also just mention in passing a few usability improvements and bug fixes. One last thing before we dive in. In the pinned comment, you'll also find a link to my Patreon. So if you're watching this in the first couple of days of release, there's going to be a giveaway on my Patreon for 5 paying patrons to win a copy of any app by this developer. So if you're fast and join now, even if you're not a member, you could still enter that giveaway. That Patreon really is important to keep this channel going, and I look after my patrons very well. A lot of the paying patrons don't enter giveaways. So, chances of winning are very high there. And even if you do have no interest in the extras I give patrons, like these giveaways, and I've got a lot of exclusive videos there, if you want to keep this channel alive and you can afford just $5 a month, please consider supporting me there. It really is helping keep this channel alive. All right, let's get started. So, this thing I've been playing here is just a sequence that I used the randomizer to come up with. So let's look at the randomization options first. So the first thing is, right, this whole huge randomization section. But we can also do random pitches by event. So if we click on an event here, you can see that you have sliders here for random pitch probability and random gate probability, and you can set the random pitch range there as well. So let's go back though, and let's just look at the randomizer section. So you can see here, it's just incredibly powerful. So a lot of apps, first of all, a lot of apps don't have randomizer, which is a pity. But the second problem is that even if they do have a randomizer, they often don't give you very much control over how the randomizer works. You could not say that about this, my God. So like you can set exactly which lines will be processed. You can set whether it will generate mono or poly events. You even have an option to keep existing events. So for example, you could program a pattern in by hand here, and then you could tell it to keep existing events and still get it to, randomize other stuff on top of that. And really, really powerful. Then here, look, event parameters to randomize. We've got, length, gate, chance, velocity, order, note repeat, line parameters to randomize. So, again, if you don't know this sort of stuff, go back and watch my main video on this. But for event parameters, right, you just press on an event. Okay, and now here we're getting the event edit dialog popping up. I'm still not used to having to close that manually. Then if we want here, this is the line edit, just press on one of these and then we're getting line edit stuff. So so line parameters to randomize, relative tuning, absolute tuning, length, whether it is scaled or not. So, we set the scale here, but we can also play with the transposition completely unquantized as well if we want. So then you would just turn scaled off for that. clock division. So that's something we will talk about in a minute. You now have like separate clock for every line here. It's really amazing. And you can also randomize the scale. So that's just an incredible level of control. So I'll close this and we'll move on to talk about stuff related to polyrhythms and timing. So now every line, so here are a bunch of lines, right? So every line now can have its own clock divider, and you can see we can divide by 2, 3, 4, and so on, up to divide by 32 here. And if we close line edit and let's click on an event, I'll click on this event, for example. So here, we had the event edit box before, but we didn't have all these options. So one option that's related also to timing is that now an event can be played on specific cycles. So for example, here, it's going to play on the first, second, third, and fourth cycle only, but it's not playing on others. So for example, I could add it in so that it will play on the fifth cycle too, or I could take out this one. So now it's going to play on the first cycle. It won't play on the second cycle. It'll play on the third. It'll play on the fourth, and so on. So that's just allowing you for so much more variety now. We also have gate length can be set for each event. So every event can have a totally different gate from other events if you want. Very powerful. We've also got scale stuff, okay, scales and transpositions. So custom scales are now possible. So you can see here, we can still click to select from traditional modes and scales, but we can then adjust them, and we can just make our own completely off-the-wall scales if we want. Super powerful. Another thing worth mentioning is that the lines, now you can have a range right up to plus 36 or minus 36. I think before maybe the maximum was 12, I can't remember. Anyway, again, super powerful. Now I'll look at some features related to pattern editing and customization, excuse me. So we can mute by line. So here again, I've clicked up the line edit box for this line. So we have a mute button here, so we can mute just this line if we want. What else can we do? We can decide whether a line will be scaled or not. So if we can just make it fully chromatic if we want, or we can make it conform to the scale. So that's important when you're playing around with the tuning slider here, for example. You can make sure that your changes will stay within the scale, or you can break out of the scale if you want. Super powerful. Also note that lines, controllers, and patterns can all be colorized. So you can set a different color for this line if you want to. Brilliant. So moving on to some control and usability improvements. So if we click on an event, you can see we can force an arpeggiated event to a specific chord note position. For example, we can make it play, make sure that it plays the first note in the chord, or this event will play the second note or the third note, and so on. S here means it will play the second last note in the chord, and L means it will play the last note. And so that will also be shown on the event. So here, that means that if we're arpeggiating this, and again, down here, you switch between whether you're arpeggiating or just using it as a sequencer. If you're arpeggiating, then here, this one will be playing the last note. So that's great. Now you also have here, let's play this. You have this little reset button. So you can reset all the step positions to 0. So you press it once and it just starts flashing, and then press again and it'll reset them all to 0. And then there are just a few different, bug fixes and stuff. I won't bother going into those. So, yeah, like really, what a brilliant update. So again, main things to be wary of if you just, get the app and you start trying to randomize stuff, make sure that if you don't want to put note input into it, then make sure you have it in sequencer mode. Otherwise, by default, it's set to ARP mode, if I remember. So, you'll be randomizing things and you might not be getting any output. Also, if you're a complete noob, if you're a complete noob to MIDI and stuff like that, or to AUM, the host app that I'm using here, then make sure you watch my Everything You Need to Know About AUM video. That shows you how to set up everything in this, how to route the MIDI and so on. So here I've just been routing that MIDI to FM zone. And AUM is just a really nice app to work with MIDI, and it's so just flexible and intuitive. Okay, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy. And thanks again to the developer for making this a free update. I think it's great that this was a free update. Okay, take it easy, folks. Bye-bye.